Welcome back, everybody, to Selling the Soundtrack, where we break down the music sync licensing industry so you can make money from your music. Today, we've got a sought-after music composer, Mary Ancheta, with us. She has music placed in Netflix, HBO, Showtime, the Discovery Channel, music in ads like Sony and Kit Kat, music in movies like The Jasmine Road, and tons of other sync placements. I could go on. Thank you so much, Mary, for being here. I'm so stoked for this episode.
Thanks for having me, Tiffany. It's great to be here and to connect again and have a chat. So.
Of course. Share your sync journey with us.
I was, playing in bands in Vancouver in the industry and just always writing. And I think trying to just chase a song. I'm a lover of a good song, I think, whatever that means, whatever that means to each person. But a lot of it just started just being at home and enjoying writing and collaborating with my friend at the time and just finding different sounds and different vibes and different textures that we could create. And eventually, we met a few more people, some music supervisors, and we kind of just fell into it. We had a call that was put out that they were looking for a certain kind of song. The brief was that they were looking for something universal, like a message, maybe with a little bit of lyrics potentially, but something with a feel that we're all in it together as one. And I think the first thing that we placed under a project that I had called Transient World was for a Sony memory stick commercial.
Do you find for most of your sync placements that you kind of made the music out of love for it and it ended up getting placed?
Earlier on, that was what happened. We had songs and we just kept pumping them out, different vibes, different styles, and not everything had to represent myself or my collaborator, as an artist. It just felt exciting and, to collaborate and to try different styles, I think, to try different things. And, as I did it longer and I think grew as a composer and met more people in the industry, you're able to get into certain networks and meet people and, when companies are putting a brief out where they're looking for something, it's often, they're not going to send it to everyone, right? They kind of they want to work with you first, ideally, or get to know what you do. And then, once you're able to potentially get into a little bit of an inner circle, then I was able to compose more with specific briefs.
I see. So your network is your net worth, really, in sync.
Definitely, and it's always just, stretching out a little further, I think, and meeting new people, I think, and,
Totally. Do you have advice for getting your foot in the door and making those connections?
I think writing to your strengths for me is a big one, and being honest with yourself about,
what are you good at?
Yeah, it's like hip-hop music. I love hip-hop music.
Right.
I listen to it. How many hip-hop music, tunes am I creating?
Yes.
It's really investing in in a style, I think, and understanding it.
Totally.
And, really doing some research, I think, as well, would be another piece of advice, once you find the style that you're good at, I like to pick a style and then go, okay, I'm going to try and write, maybe 4 or 5 tunes in this style. And it doesn't have to be, with sync, it doesn't have to be an entire, like 3.5 minute pop song or something.
Totally.
Yeah, it can be a vibe. It could be, for for music libraries, most of the ones that I've worked with, they're expecting 2 minutes, about 2 minutes of a song,
2 minutes to 2:30 is good.
Exactly, yeah. So, it's nice to have some of those styles, and examples of what you're good at and what your strengths are.
Totally. And there's something for everybody. Like, you don't have to just choose one genre because you think that's like gonna sell.
Yeah.
Like there's different libraries for everything.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, people want, there's so much music out, it's hard, to say, original. Sometimes it's a mixture, still your original music, but sometimes it's a mixture of styles, a hybrid of genres that opposite ends that you can kind of mash together to to make a certain sound, you know.
Totally. And also going back to the research thing, it's also just like researching who you're submitting to. If it's a supervisor, what kind of music do they usually get placed?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
if you're researching libraries, what do they have a lot of, or even what are they missing?
Yeah, I found just knowing these things, you know, ahead of time has certainly helped me in my journey. And you know, I think also just remembering too, I mean, you know, people are busy and everyone's doing the thing, but, you know, remembering that as a composer, you know, I always tried to remind myself I have something to offer. They're looking for music. Doesn't mean that they're looking for my music, you know, but if I've done the research, then, you know, there's potential there, I think,
Totally.
you know.
And having thick skin is important. Like, just because you don't get responses or you don't get people interested, it doesn't mean anything. It's just move on to the next one.
I think that's every day.
Yeah,
in this
totally.
industry,
In music, yeah,
you know.
Totally.
I think I learned a long time ago, if you don't have a, you know, you can't take everything personally, right?
Absolutely
it's like
not.
if your song doesn't fit the show, then that's it. You know, you're not going to get a response.
Yes,
but
totally.
you know, the one time that it does, I think there's that relationship that started and can potentially grow. You know, to build from there, I think so.
Totally. And I think one of the main priorities is just like quantity and quality. So like, have you read the book Outliers?
I have not. No.
So it pretty much says that to get really good at something, you have to put in 10,000 hours.
Sure.
And I think that makes so much sense. Like with sync too, put in the time and just build that catalog and you will be fruitful.
It's a bit of a numbers game, you know,
Totally,
like just having, you know, that eventually down the road you do see the royalties from that, but you have to be really invested. And
it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's a really slow burn because you might get your first, you know, song placed in a library, but you won't see the money in your ASCAP or SOCAN for like a year.
Yeah, exactly. But I found, you know, I think as the quarterlies come through, it's nice to see, you know, I think if you're doing anything, you know, consistently and, you know, challenging yourself, I think hopefully the quality is getting better and, you know, the numbers are going up in terms of the number of songs that you've written and as well as, you know, income, I think, potentially, right? Because once that's there, I like to think about songs as just finding a home, you know? I'm looking for a home for each thing, and you want it to be the right home or the right fit, you know?
Yes, I like that saying. Do you find for your catalog, is it a few songs that are making you the most money, or is it like a lot of different songs making you money?
You know, we had some songs placed in the L Word in the first, you know, when that show first started, in the first 3 seasons, and, you know, that's an example of, you know, that show just seems to be, it's the gift that keeps on giving, you know? It's always played in different countries, and there always just seems to be a little bit, you know, coming in from there. And that style was mostly, I mean, initially that was kind of, you know, electronic, you know, with some organic elements, I guess. Sometimes some vocalization, sometimes some guitar, live bass, but still, I guess, categorized as electronic in a sense, where some other ones, you know, I do try and go through my breakdown, you know, when I get my SOCAN statement, and, you know, when something is placing more, it's interesting to look at the style, you know, and to see maybe, you know, why is it placing, you know, is it just that particular sync license, or is it the style? Sometimes people are, you know, often looking for a particular style. So
for that L Word placement, it was exclusive because it kept being reused, or is only L Word could use that?
No, so those placements were non-exclusive. Yeah, which I think is a real important thing to consider when, you know,
100%.
when someone's approaching you to use their music, to sync your music, you know, would you be okay with an exclusive license and only
where they own it?
Exactly, and that's it, you know. For certain things, you know, I think everyone, I'm sure, has a different different take on that.
100%.
And I think that's a personal thing. For libraries, for music libraries, it's usually not 100%, but usually exclusive for music libraries. But other ones, for me, other songs that are more personal, and that I think I'm more invested in, or maybe I think they have a longer lifespan or more legs to be synced for other things. I would rather hold out, for some things and just get a non-exclusive deal, I guess.
Yeah, that's good advice for the musicians listening to this podcast. Just pay attention to the deals you're signing.
And I think at the end of the day, it's not always the biggest money up front, or sometimes it's not money up front and money on the back end. There's so many potential ways, and I just think, you
need to understand.
Yeah, and you have to be good with it,
yes.
sitting with it.
And see how your gut feels about that song.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, if it means a lot to you, I think, there's something, there's something to be said for, I think, doing a non-exclusive deal and holding on to that to when it feels right, or the right, the right combination of show or, ad or branding. Sometimes you want to make sure it feels in line with with who you are as well.
Yeah, it's just important to pay attention to the details.
Exactly, and you can't. I think it's all you can do is know what you've experienced, and I think it's just don't be shy to reach out to other people,
and get a second opinion.
Yeah, and even if it's something, sometimes it's just people in your community. But I think it's important. I've done the same thing. People have asked me. And I think it's important if sync is something that you want to be doing, and you're a composer to. We have our composer community, right, where we exchange resources, we ask the questions.
Yes.
If I don't know something, I'm sure someone else does, and vice versa. I think, there's enough money to be made, to go around, that I think we can all share our knowledge and the things that we do know, to help each other out. So.
What was your favorite sync placement ever? And how did you get it?
I did write a children's song. It was a children's song for this animation. They were submitting, they were looking for some different songs. And I think that was one of my favorites, I think, because I wrote the song. It was, for children, very young children. And then they did an animation to it. So it was called Dino Pup Dance on Tune Bops. So seeing this little Dino Pup, I had written this song and got my colleague to sing, Marley Collins, and then to see it animated, to the movements and everything.
Totally.
And it was specifically up on YouTube for kids. It was pretty exciting. I was waiting for it to come out.
For your sync placements as well, you do you wear a lot of different hats. You produce, compose, you play keys. So for the songs you have placed, do you typically produce everything on it, or do you work a lot with co-writers?
I'm certainly open to, the collaboration, I think, when it calls for it. And then again, reaching out to my community where it's kind of like guitar, okay, pedal steel, vocals. Who do I need? Oftentimes briefs, they need it. Unfortunately, it's like they need it yesterday. It's such it's kind of like,
it's fast turnarounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I've gotten a brief and then it's kind of like, okay, tomorrow, and if I can try and make some time, sometimes I see it as a challenge,
Yes, it's
just,
a game.
Yeah, just to try and see, I kind of have a roster of people that I know have home studios as well, that play different instruments, that have studios at home. They can, I just don't have time to go over there, and so I send them, I ask them, what they can do it for, and how we work that out, and then I just get people to send me tracks from home, and that seems to be the quickest way, and it's a real nice way to work,
Totally. And I feel like COVID also set a precedent for everyone in the industry where it's like you need to learn how to use a DAW and be able to send files back and forth. It's just so 100% necessary.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of them, you have to be able to do it on your own, or have some really good samples,
Yeah.
I think as well, right?
Any last words of advice for the audience?
Just keep on writing, I think, just because some doors shut, I think, we've all had them, I think, in the industry, and maybe it's just temporarily closed. It's, I think keep on writing, and I think working on your strengths,
Keep writing and like keep doing outreach, because I feel like once, like at least when I started, I know like I felt kind of like down in the dumps, that I'm like, oh, nobody's responding to my emails, like I've already sent 30, like why is nobody? But the thing is, it's such a numbers game. You just have to keep sending, not like over and over again to the same people. Like clearly if someone doesn't respond a few times over, like don't be too persistent, because we're all humans too. But yeah, just like don't give up and keep trying to get placements, because it is a long journey.
Exactly, yeah. And I think sometimes if we're looking at music libraries, sometimes finding myself, if I am signing to a library and signing some tracks up, I don't really want to be lost in the shuffle. Sometimes it's nice finding a boutique library that maybe they're real selective. I know there's certain ones out there, they're real selective with the tracks that they take. But when they do take tracks, they feel strongly that it has the potential to be placed. So sometimes a boutique library, is has the potential to kind of go further than maybe trying to put your tracks in 15 different music libraries where you could potentially be lost in the shuffle, I think.
And where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Mary Ancheta Music, Instagram, Mary Ancheta, and Bandcamp and SoundCloud, and on my website as well, maryancheta.com.
Thanks everybody for listening. Don't forget to follow Selling the Soundtrack on TikTok. Bye guys.
Thank you. Bye.